In this week's video, I want to talk about the most important aspect of composition in landscape photography. Actually, in any kind of photography. So what an ungodly time of day it is. Like, as much as I enjoy photographing during summer, I really do not enjoy getting up at like 4:15 in the morning. But yeah, it is what it is. Very early in the morning. It was supposed to be much more atmospheric than it is right now, with some mist and some fog. Like, all the indicators says that I should get some fog, but right now nothing is manifesting. But to the theme of this video, composition is all about structure and order in your photos, as for you to emphasize the story and up the aesthetic quality of it. And structure and order can come in many different ways, and that is kind of the point. So in this specific example here, it is that time of year where I have all the beautiful wild garlic blooming in my nearby forest here. And right now I placed my camera. So I'm using this small trail here as a leading line, leading up this small hill and up to this tree here, which is my main focal point with all these beautiful roots. On top of that, I'm trying to balance the photo so I have an equal amount of visual interest on either side. And that is what balance is all about. And you just have to balance all your photos. So the main order in this photo is basically to have leading line in the foreground, leading up into the background and the tree, and make sure that everything is in balance. It's super simple when I'm talking about it like this, but it seems to not always be super simple for all. I'm getting a few different examples at this location here. One where the trail is the main leading line leading into the scene, but also a few examples where I'm not really including the trail, but mainly just having some of the flowers in the foreground as to create depth. So both examples ended up being a classic 2/3 foreground and 1/3 mid and background, as to emphasize the flowers, yet have some kind of interest in the background to anchor the eye. On the left photo, the trail enters from bottom right and leads the eye towards the left part of the photo and the root system and light, and ends at the tree trunk. Although none of the elements in the scene are placed in the center, I think I managed to balance it quite good by having a somewhat equal amount of visual interest on either side of the middle. The question is if you prefer the photo with or without the trail. They're very much alike, and the uneven foreground with the darker patches on the right photo helps to also create visual interest and flow. Let me know down in the comments which one you like the best, the one with or without the trail. Moreover, while you're down there, I would highly appreciate a like. They really do help push my videos out to the rest of the world. So it's actually the very end of May today, and as I said, wild garlic is all around right now. But it is just like 3 weeks delayed, which is so much. But as you know, if you're from Northern Europe, we've just had like the driest April ever, and May has just been like super cold, and April was cold too. So like, yeah, everything is just delayed. Luckily, finally, it is time to photograph wild garlic, and I have been waiting a year for this. So hopefully some of the fog will manifest. I didn't get anything last year, so and it seems like this morning will be my best chance. It doesn't look too good for now. So the sun is coming up, and as you can see, I am right here in a spot of the forest where the sun is coming in. And even though I don't get fog, there is enough mist in the air for the sun to light it up, so I do get some sunbeams. So right now here, in regard to order and structure, I am using this beam of light here to lead you into the photo, and it is just lighting up the wild garlic here in the foreground. And then hopefully I can show a little bit of this beautiful part here where the sun is lighting up the mist. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm all the way down settings wise at f16, and as you know, aperture priority ISO 100, and that gives me right now a shutter speed on 6 seconds. Due to the high contrast environment, I do bracket this one, so 2 stops under and 2 stops over, just to be sure. I tend to not really use my brackets, but just to be completely certain that I get the full dynamic range. But yeah, structure wise, super simple. Leading line of light, ray of light leading into the scene, creating a lot of depth with the wide angle effect. So easy peasy. I most certainly got to use the brackets on this morning. There is a massive dynamic range when the sun hits the white wild garlic from behind. If I were to only expose for the highlights, the rest of the photo would basically have just been black. In this case, I could get away with a simple HDR blend. In regard to the composition, I made sure to have what's of visual interest follow the diagonal through the photo, and as to again have a somewhat equal distribution of visual elements on either side of the middle of the photo. So I just came by one of the compositions I used in one of last year's videos. Be sure to check it out up here if you haven't. But it's so interesting to see, like, this year, there's still wild garlic around this fallen over tree here, but it's just not as aesthetically pleasing as it was last year. It's a little bit more erratic. The wild garlic here, it's kind of fallen over. So I guess it's good that I took that shot last year, but it's still a nice composition. Just need the wild garlic to play along. Alright, so now we are talking. One thing about composition is that you also need light, usually for it to work. There's an argument for separating the talk about, like, light is one thing, composition is another, but they usually depend on each other quite well. So in this particular case here, just look at this. Like, having beautiful sunbeams coming in through the forest, and then just the forest floor full of wild garlic. Absolutely beautiful. So in regard to the composition in and of itself, I'm simply just using the sunbeams as my focal point, and then I have all the wild garlic in the foreground as the secondary subject. And due to it being such a monotone layer of wild garlic all the way through the forest floor, I'm simply just using it with a wide angle lens, where the foreground wild garlic is big, and then it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, so you get that sense of depth. There's not a whole lot to it. Again, I'm just trying to balancing out my photo, and yeah, it's not super complicated creating compositions. You just need to have those very basic tools to use. Always balance your photo. Think about depth, leading lines. Think about whether you want to make a horizontal or a vertical photo. I tend to lean towards vertical photos. They look beautiful on the wall, so does horizontal photos. There's just something about vertical photos, especially when you're using a wide angle lens. So settings wise, even though I'm photographing at f16, I will have to focus stack this one. I think I can get away with 3 focus stacks. Even though I'm photographing at f16, people are now asking, why don't you just shoot at f11? But that is because then the foreground will actually be harder to stitch. I need to have as much in focus in each photos as absolutely possible. So yeah, I'm talking about focus stacking and different ways of focus stacking in my big Photoshop for Landscape Photographers course. So you can enroll in that one, and remember to use the coupon code. There's a minus 15% discount, so you can save a few money. I of course talk about so much more than just focus stacking in that course, but focus stacking is one of the many things I teach you in that course. So yeah, link in the description. So the sun is moving, and yeah, here's the photo. I can't really add anything more to this photo than I've already said. However, let me know down in the comments which one photo from this entire video you like the most and why. I of course have my favorites, but they do not necessarily line up with other people's opinion. So I didn't get any sunbeams in last year's video where I was photographing wild garlic. So instead of just like going around to all the compositions that I have actually scouted out, I am simply just using all the time I have to find locations where the beams are coming through the forest canopy, and then I'm using that, incorporating that somehow into my composition. In this case here, as you can see, I have the wild garlic in the forest floor, of course, and then I have the lines from the sun leading up into the sunbeam area here, and it just gives such an incredibly beautiful and atmospheric photo. I try my best to hide the sun behind one of the trees, and that is to avoid a sunstar. As you can see here when I move the camera back and forward, just hiding it behind one of the trees, because then the sunbeams are more visible and I avoid the sunstar. It's actually an effect I don't use a whole lot. I use it from time to time, but I generally don't like those big, huge, spiky sun flares. I think it's, I don't know. It's not that it's a cliche effect, I just think it's very distracting from the scene you're actually photographing. This photo is actually one of my favorites from this morning. I again put emphasis on the flowers with the low angle of the camera. The light is gorgeous and leads you into the atmospheric background where the 4 main tree trunks are placed with a somewhat equal distance between them. I would have preferred a little bit more separation between the big tree here and the small tree in the background, which I could have accomplished by moving a little bit to the left, but I simply missed it while I composed the photo. That being said, I still think this photo is my favorite from this video so far. In this photo I emphasize the beautiful sun streaks above the wild garlic by distancing myself from the flowers and only let the foreground take up approximately 1/3 of the photo, leaving the rest of it for the forest and sunbeams. So order and structure in landscape photography is basically about how you place the different elements of your scene in relation to each other. And as I said, it doesn't have to be super complicated. In this scene here, I'm just doing the most basic thing you can imagine. Straight on composition, down a road. I'm literally putting my focal point, which is here, straight in the middle of the photo. Not a little bit up or a little bit down, straight smack in the middle. It gives such a strong effect, drawing you into the photo. I'm photographing at like 35mm or so it's not particularly wide angle. I do get a little bit of perspective compression in the scene, so I can actually see most of the details, yet I'm still getting this vista-ish photo from this forest. And then I of course have the sunbeams coming in from left here and lighting up the path. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. If you want to learn even more about composition in landscape photography, be sure to get my ebooks on precisely that topic. I talk so much more about order and structure. It's very themed out, it's very approachable, lots of photos to show the point of what I'm trying to get across, very minimal text. And yeah, they're not too expensive either, if I may say so myself. And they have gotten some beautiful 5-star reviews from a lot of people. So be sure to check them out via the link down in the description. If you are a little bit in doubt whether you want to buy them or not, you can try the 2 light versions first. It's a couple of demo versions, so you have an idea about what it is you're actually buying. So yeah, link in the description if you want to learn even more about composition in landscape photography. When I talk about order and structure in the photos, it is important to just think it very, very simple, like a little order is better than no order, a little structure is better than no structure. Again, I really have to emphasize, you don't have to make it super duper complex for yourself. Think a little bit about how you place the different elements in relation to each other. Here's an S-curve. I need to photograph that. So right here. And again, like I'm just putting the trail here right smack in the middle, zooming a little bit in so I get that perspective compression. But instead of placing the trail like out in the left side or in the right side or in some random place or having the horizon crooked or something like that, it really is just about thinking a little order is better than no order, a little structure is better than no structure. A couple of months ago, I created an entire new event which is called Landscape Composition Week. It's a week where I release 3 free videos about composition in landscape photography and so much more. The event was a huge success. People really enjoyed it, and I just got so many incredible comments about it. Thank you guys so much to those of you who participated. I'm running this event one more time here before summer, So if you want to learn a whole lot more about composition in landscape photography, tips, secrets, how to sharpen your eye, storytelling, a lot of the things that I do not share and tell and teach you about in my composition ebooks, then this event here is for you. There is a link down in the description and I hope to see you there. Be sure to check out the links in the description for the post-processing course, the ebooks, and be sure to sign up for Landscape Composition Week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you learned something, I'd highly appreciate both a like and let me know which one of all the photos in the video that you liked the most and why.